I'm going to take a big sip of water before I film this video because it's going to be a chatty one. Also not loving this background. I feel like it's quite plain, but I was just like, I don't know where else I can really film because I don't want the background to be like too distracting either. So just let me know what you think. Do you like the kind of bland background? Let me know in the comments. Today I have a tower of books. I'm not kidding when I say a literal tower. I can't even pick it up. I haven't filmed a book video in maybe about a month, so I've got quite a few to go through. And I have actually read all of them. There's one that I only got halfway through and then thought it wasn't for me, but I've read all of these books. I didn't realize how many I'd read. I really need to film a book video because otherwise this video is going to be about 40 minutes long. I've read some really, really good books this month, actually, like really good ones, and I'm very excited to share them all with you. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe while you're here, and please give the video a thumbs up as well if you enjoy my book content as well. I usually post like a book video maybe once or twice a month. In this case, it will be once because I've read a ton of books and forgot to film a video kind of like earlier on in the month. So sometimes we'll do 1 or 2 book videos a month, but if you like that sort of content, then give the video a thumbs up. Also, let me know if you've read any good books this month as well, because I love a book recommendation. Okay, I'm just gonna do it in like a random order. Not the order I read it in, because quite honestly, I can't remember now, but we'll just go from the top of the pile and make our way down. So the first one I'm going to talk about, I really loved, and it was Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. I feel like this is one of those books that everyone would like. It's a really good size as well. I think I finished this literally within 2 days because I could not put it down either. And look, if Reese Witherspoon is going to say it's unforgettable, I'm going to believe her. So I decided to read the book and it was so worth it. Definitely an emotional one. So it's basically about a main character called Beth, and she was like 17 when she first met someone named Gabriel, and one day he left for a number of reasons which we kind of go into in the book. But then she meets someone else who's basically already been in love with her for quite some time, named Frank. So basically she ends up being with Frank for a really long time, but then one day as an adult, Gabriel returns back to Dorset. I think this is where it's set, and he comes back with his own son and they basically reunite. And there is just so much that goes on in this book, not just kind of to their present day, but also about going back in time to when they first met and all the different events that happened in both of their lives, particularly more in Beth's life over the years to kind of get to this point. So there is a bit of, I was going to say time travel, that makes it sound really like fantasy based. It's not, but they do kind of go back in time, and it's just such an amazing book. You can't put it down. It's one of those books where the characters feel so real that you're like so engaged in the book. I think this would make an incredible movie as well. I really hope it gets turned into one because I feel like that would be a real hit. I would definitely say this is a romance novel at the heart of it, but also suspense. There's just like other things in there as well that I guess would fit into a different type of genre, but I would say at the heart of it is like a love story. But yeah, it is really addictive, and I would definitely have it on my list of books that I would recommend to anyone that's not read in a while and wants a really good book to kind of get them back into reading again. Okay, the next book I want to share is one that I couldn't really get into. I got about halfway through and just couldn't keep reading. It doesn't really happen to me too often. I'll usually kind of give the book a good go, and then if I get halfway through and I'm still not really into it, then I'll just kind of call it a day there. So that was the case for this book here, The Moon Glow Bookshop. But I would just like to say that this cover is so cute. I love it. So this book is by Dongwon. This book has got a really cool concept. I think the concept is amazing. I just couldn't get into the book. So it is a fantasy book, but not kind of in your typical sort of fantastical sort of way. So it's basically about a bar that's kind of hidden down like a little side street. The bartender is very quiet, but he's got a very mysterious past and we don't really know too much about him. And he works with a witty moon rabbit, basically. So you can kind of see where the fantasy comes in now, because he works with a moon rabbit, so a rabbit that has basically come from the moon. Now at this bar, they basically serve drinks that are kind of almost out of this world, and it takes their customers back to a different point in their lives. So all of these drinks that they make are like handcrafted to the particular customer. So each of them is like a reflection of that customer's life. And it basically goes through each of the customers' sorts of experiences at that bar. And once they take a sip of their drink, it kind of unfolds through their life story. Like that in itself is an amazing concept for a book. Like I think it's so creative and just very, very imaginative and cool. So I got about halfway through, but I just couldn't finish it just because I was no longer really engaging with it. I think because the characters were changing as well, because obviously it's based on different customers as they kind of go. I just felt like it got not repetitive because everyone's story was of course different, but I don't know, I just don't know, I couldn't really get into it. I know there'll be so many people that would love this book so much, and it'll be a really quick read as well because it's quite short. I actually don't know the reason why, I just couldn't really get into it because the whole idea of the book is really, really cool. But yeah, anyway, I thought I'd just let you know about this one anyway because I know that lots of people would really, really enjoy reading it. The next book is definitely one of my favorite reads for a really long time. So you might have seen this if you're on Bookshop, and this is My Dark Romeo. I loved this book. So this book is by Parker S. Huntington and LJ Shen, and I could shout from the rooftop how much I love this book. And if you love like a rom-com sort of book, maybe even a smutty book from time to time, read this because you will not be able to put it down. I couldn't. I really loved these characters so much, and it just felt like it took me to another world. So it's basically based on two characters within kind of much higher society. I think they're both billionaires, so it's a very different world. It's basically about their love story in a way, and it's a very kind of warped, strange love story, but you kind of just fall in love with the characters so much that you're willing to kind of just see how it turns out. It kind of starts with this idea of them not liking each other, and then it kind of goes from there. That kind of standard rom-com trope, basically. I loved the characters of this book so much. I loved the writing. It was so witty, funny. But if you want a really good rom-com, read this. I really, really loved it. And what I'm even more excited about is the fact that there is a second one of these, like a sequel to it, which I have to get my hands on and read because I loved this so much. Like that second one, I'm very excited to read it. But this is like a million out of 10. Like I loved it a lot. Okay, the next one I have to share with you is another one that I really, really recommend, and I think it was such a beautiful book. I feel like the word beautiful matches with this book in particular. So you might have heard of this one because I've kind of seen it around, but this is The Invisible Life of Addie Larue by V.E. Schwab. And again, this is one of those books that does actually have time travel in it as well, and this is like a fantasy-based book, but not to the point where it's kind of like this other book where you've got kind of made up sort of like beings. I think because it's kind of talking about time travel, that's kind of the fantastical part of it. So it covers about 300 years. It doesn't go like through 300 years year by year because that would be a very long book. But it starts in the 1700s with a character called Addie Larue. So Addie Larue, she basically makes a bargain basically to live forever, but be remembered by absolutely no one. So this is why it's called An Invisible Life, because no one ever remembers her. Like, that in itself is a very sad start to the book. And I believe it also then goes to 2014, so kind of the modern day part of the book. And this is where her life is basically restarting. And the thing is, no one ever remembers her. So she's kind of trying to navigate life, having nowhere to actually live because she doesn't really exist. Then one day she walks into a bookshop and meets someone called Henry who actually remembers her the next day she goes back. And this is the only person in her life who remembers her. And Henry kind of has his own secret as well, and their lives start to intertwine quite quickly. And it's just such an incredible book. It goes through her entire kind of journey of life, and it looks at her family life when she was younger. It looks at her modern day life. She ends up in different countries. Like, it's a real whirlwind of a book, but it was so beautifully written, and it really kind of captures your heart in a way. Like, you really feel for her. But again, I think it's one of those books that you just won't ever really forget because it's just really beautifully written, and I feel like that storyline is very, very unique and just a very special book. So a 10 out of 10 from me. Okay, this next one really made me laugh. So this is This Much Is True by Miriam Margoyles. I think Miriam Margoyles is possibly best known for being an actor, but she just I mean, incredible, like what an incredible human being. I think when she wrote this book, she would be in her 80s. I think she still is in her 80s, but it kind of like talks about her life from when she was very, very young. It's an autobiography, and it's just like one of those books that you read and it's like, wow, like what a life she has lived. I obviously don't want to give too much away because it is an autobiography. There's not like a plot to it like there would be a fiction book. It's basically just about her whole life, but I would definitely recommend it. I'm not always a big autobiography or biography fan. It really depends on the person, but I've seen her on lots of like talk shows and I thought she was quite funny, so I thought I'd read the book, and I'm so glad that I did because it's like, what a character. Like she is so like unique, she's funny. Like when you read this book, like there are so many things that really take you aback and you're like, wow, like I can't believe you did that. But she's a really great storyteller. Again, I could not put this book down, and usually with something that's non-fiction, it takes me a while to get through it. It's not as easy to read usually in the same way as like a fiction book, for me at least. But with this particular non-fiction book, I couldn't put it down either. I really, really enjoyed it. And I think she actually has another autobiography too, if I remember correctly, which I would love to read as well. The next one I've got is Hooked by Asako Yuzuki. She wrote Butter. I feel like Butter was quite a popular book as well. I also read that maybe a year or two ago whenever it came out and loved it a lot. Like that book was really unique, but I really enjoyed it. I think also because I do like my food, and Butter was kind of based on cooking basically. So I think this is her second book if I'm correct, and it's called Hooked. And this is a really, really interesting book. Again, the concept is just really, really clever, and I mean, I think she's actually just a very clever author, to be honest, because the book that I read last time, Butter, like I thought that was really out there but just so captivating. Like it was just really good. So this focuses on two characters, one called Eriko and one called Shoko. Now Eriko, she's got like a big job in Tokyo. She works for like a big firm. But Eriko, she starts to read a popular blog by someone called Shoko, and she basically ends up, I guess, kind of bumping into her in a coffee shop, and it's basically how their kind of, I guess, friendship goes from there. It's basically focusing on the dynamic between these women and kind of female friendship, and just really, again, it's quite out there things as well. I would definitely say it's a thriller, maybe not in like the most ordinary sense, because I feel like this book is quite unique, but I would consider it to be a thriller. It's quite an unsettling story about like friendship, obsession and that sort of thing, and yeah, I just feel like it's a really interesting book. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, I would definitely recommend checking this one out. I did prefer Butter slightly more. Not to say that I didn't like this one, because I definitely did, but I did prefer Butter just because I felt like it was going into the details of food a little bit more. Again, this is just basically based on personal preference, and I think I just liked that element of it, but this was also really good as well. And now let's move on to the final book, which I actually finished last night. I finished it within 24 hours. So this was Greenlights by Matthew McConaughey. I've gone ages without reading any kind of like autobiographical books, and then within the same month I've read two. This was one of those books that people were recommending to me because it was really funny, and I agree, like it was hilarious. Like it is really funny. You have to read it because you will laugh. Apparently like the Audible version as well is even funnier because I think he's actually narrating it himself, but I don't really like listening to an audiobook. I much prefer reading it. So he's basically going through his life story up to now, and it's just fascinating. Like he's done a lot of traveling as well, so he kind of goes through that, which is super interesting too. Talks about his family life, kind of everything that happened before his kind of Hollywood career as well. And then of course it kind of covers elements of his Hollywood career as well. But it was just like one of those books that I feel like there's lots of life lessons in this book, which I think are actually very valuable. I wouldn't really say necessarily it's like a guidebook, but almost like one. I guess because of all the wisdom he sort of imparts on every page. And it kind of talks about all the different things that led him to each point in his life. And I guess the overall, what's the word? Almost like concept behind the book is all the things that he went through in life was to actually understand life more. That's kind of what I gathered from the book. But yeah, he's really kind of appreciating life in this book, which I think is a really nice thing to kind of have a book based around. I really enjoyed this as well, and if you're looking for an autobiography to read as well, this is a brilliant one to look at. And if you like an audiobook, I think listening to that would be a good shout as well. But yeah, those are all of my books. I've got no idea how long I've been filming for now. I really hope you enjoyed today's book video. I feel like I had a real mix in this video today. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch today's video. If you liked it, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.